Hello! I know. This took me way too long to make. I wanted to have my characters ready before doing it, but then I realized it don't really matter that much. So, they're more or less ready anyways, so that's fine. I finally did the comic page. So, I was gonna do the sketch right on the watercolor paper and stuff, but I don't trust myself, so I used this assy sketch pad. I actually tried to draw this all week, but every time I sit down to do it, I end up doing shit on my PC that distracts me, so yeah, I shouldn't be a parent. So anyways, oh, and by the way, I'm a mess. A few years, I don't know, I made this video on drawing a manga page, which is when I still drew manga. Then a bit after it, it blew up like crazy, and so then sometime later I decided I was going to move on to other art styles, and the video kind of like blew up again, so I decided to unlist it because people kept subscribing but nobody was watching my new stuff, and it kind of annoyed me, and then people started being mean because they liked my old art better or whatever. So anyways, minus 1k subs and a few identity crisis, whatever. Later, here we are. So it's like 4:30 a.m., right? I'm in my room. My brother's sleeping only inches away from my desk. I mean, yeah, there's a wall between us, but still. And I'm thinking, if I start now, I'll have an easier time doing it tomorrow. So that's what I did. And here's what I'm currently doing, as you can see. I have this comic called Raven's Creek. To practice, I choose a comic page and I draw it, but with my characters in my own art style. For this one, I chose Buffy. There is a naughty scene in here, but I decided to choose this page instead because, well, I already make like $2 a month on YouTube. I can't afford to get demonetized. So I'm just here sketching out the panels. I did it just kind of loose and then went back in with a ruler. This ruler has been through some shit. First, I got it, then I decided to post a dumbass picture of it on 9gag, which got too hot. What? I don't know why. What? Then sometime later, I had it in my room and I kind of just jammed my arm into it, so I cut myself really deep with it, and now I have this scar in my arm. And then more recently, I almost stabbed myself in the eye with it. So, but okay, so the next day, I went in and started sketching the characters. I feel like this was a good challenge for me because of all the perspective drawing. I do feel like I already knew I was bad at perspective, so this really challenged me. I'll go panel by panel now. So panel number 1. As you can see, the original panel has Buffy as a complete rape face. This panel probably belongs in a bad comic art video or something. The whole thing is fine. It's just the eyebrows that make it really creepy and unsettling. I don't know. So for my version, I decided, well, not to do that. I also removed the towel and changed her position a little. Instead of having both arms on the chair, she has one arm on it and one only the hand. I already don't know if MAIA would sit like that, so I felt like the way Buffy is sitting was even more awkward. The panel was really annoying to make. MAIA is my favorite, and it was really hard to get her to look halfway like her. I did forget to draw freckles for a while, which did make her look weird, so the background has the window of KALEB's room. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering, in manga I learned that the speech bubbles are often drawn by the artist. In comic books, it's most of the time added with the computer afterwards, which is definitely what I will do because drawing speech bubbles is stressful as fuck. Okay, panel 2. This one wasn't too hard since it was more or less drawing KALEB from the front. I decided to keep his arm down because I cannot imagine him wiggling his arms around at MAIA like that. So it was already weird enough to draw him being angry at her. So in the background we see KALEB's bed. Panel 3. Panel 3 was the one I thought was gonna be the hardest, and yet it was somehow the easiest one, which really takes a lot of anxiety I had over drawing something like that away. Although I had reference for it, so there's still room to fuck it up in the future, you know? I changed their legs and removed the towel once again. In the background we can see the chair, which I might make into an office chair. I'm not sure really. in the future, not in this comic because it's already a normal wood chair, but maybe in the future. I'm just not sure how I feel about the wood chair here. We can also see Caleb's weird room shape. He and Eli have the biggest rooms in the building since they are practically brothers that grew up together. They're the ones who have been the longest at Ravens Creek, so they have the biggest room. As I'm writing this, I totally realized that I messed up the wall and the bed here. They're not supposed to end up at the same height. I can still fix that though, because your girl is smart and I only inked in the characters that made the background all in Sketch, baby. Hell yeah. Panel 4. This was a little harder, and I'll tell you why. I suck at drawing people from this angle. I can draw them facing the other way, but as soon as it goes to the right, I'm basically bad at it. At least I really was when I still drew manga. I was so incredibly bad at it. In fact, I had to turn over the page and draw it on the back using a light pad. Didn't have to do that here though, which is good. I do dread looking at it from the back now though. In the background, we can see a different window than the one we saw behind MAIA. Panel 5. This panel was already a failure when I started. I drew both way too big and MAIA is barely in the panel. KALEB was once again a pain in my ass to draw, but I managed pretty well with MAIA, even though she's only halfway there. Panel 6, the big finale. Listen here, kids. I know what you were waiting for, the kiss panel. I get it, and I was gonna do it for a sec, but I didn't just want to do it. I wanted to draw them almost kiss, but then even that was too much. See, Spike and Buffy had a thing already, and if you read the speech and look at the next page, you will know that she was actually just imagining this whole kiss. So, here's the deal, okay? MAIA's touching his shoulder. He turns around to face her and looks into her eyes. She still has her hand on his shoulder, and so the tension is almost unbearable. But I would never put a kiss at the end of the page. It's such a huge panel and it's at the end. That's a pretty big mistake if it were a real kiss. Since it's just something she made up in her mind, the actual boom is on the first panel in the next page. Get it? So, in the original panel, we have Buffy going under Spike's shirt. That was way too much, so nay. Even putting KALEB's hand on her face like that was a little bit too much, so I erased that again. Let me explain what I did instead. So, I had them both stare at each other really closely. They both want to kiss, but they're hesitant. KALEB's hands are really awkwardly in the air because in a situation like that, he wouldn't know what the fuck he's supposed to do. He wants to grab MAIA, but doesn't. I'm thinking KALEB has feelings for MAIA that he has never felt in his life. You know, parents both died when he was young, and his aunt was never home. He spent most of his time alone until Eli was brought to Ravens Creek one day. So he had one friend until recently. The rest of the Creekers arrived: Adam, Sarah, and Tara. Oh fuck, while I'm writing this down, I just realized how similar Tara and Sarah are. Damn it. I haven't worked a lot on Sarah, so I completely ignored that. It's fine though. Anyways. Okay, so after the sketch, we can move on to the inking. I was thinking for a while about which kind of paper I was gonna use. My usual watercolor paper, which is just multimedia paper, was a no-go for me because it's slightly tinted yellow and I don't like that. I didn't want to use any paper that would be too thin though, so I settled in for this multimedia paper I got a while ago. It's white, it's just a little bigger than A4. But I recently bought this cheap-ass cutter roller thing, so no problemo. If I were to be able to hold a ruler still, that is. Also, the thing seemed to be weirdly unsharp. I don't know, maybe I wasn't pressing hard enough, but I almost messed up, but I didn't, so everything's fine. After cutting it to the right size, I masking taped the sketch to the other paper and I used my light pad to trace it. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to go right in with the inking, so I started to trace it with a pencil. But after 2 lines, I was like, fuck that, and went right in with the ink. For the inking, I'm using a whole bunch of different pens that really don't matter at all. However, I do recommend using something with really black ink. If you're thinking about using a ballpoint pen, you might not get the nice black lines, but hey, that's all up to you. Like I said, I drew the backgrounds in pencil because I wanted there to be a difference between the characters and the background, and I don't want the two to melt together when I color. Then I made the pans with an old big fine liner. The tip is completely mush, so it bends whenever I draw, almost like a brush, so it's alright for the paneling since it makes thick lines. I did mess up a lot off the background, so I went back and fixed those things later. For the background, I mostly used my black non-waterproof ink, which turns kind of purplish. and I colored everything in with my Colorix inks as always, and the shadows were all done with my black purplish ink as well. I'm totally aware that you would under all circumstances add the black on the PC, but I didn't want to do that, so and then all I did was add highlights. So here is the final page. In conclusion, I need to work more on perspective. I need to figure out how I want to color my background. I will probably color my comic pages in digitally though. Overall, I'm happy with the outcome. I think you can recognize the characters in every panel except maybe this one where KALEB he looks a little bit off here, I don't know. But I'm happy with it. It's okay for a first one. It did take me forever, so, you know. Well, thank you for watching. And to conclude this, it's time for our weekly fortune cookie. It is never too late to make the world a better place. That's a pretty nice, what is it called? Fortune, I guess. It's a nice fortune. I like that. And with that, I wish you a nice weekend. Don't watch my very old videos because they're cringy, and see you next week. Bye!